Sports magazine moguls counting down the highest sports magazine sales from January 2023. Let's do this. All right, guys, you know the drill. I have done some research on the highest sports magazine sales from last month. We're going to count down the top 10 as well as look at some honorable mentions that just missed out on the list. So let's jump right in, starting with number 10 from the month of January. And we have the Dream Team. This is from 1991, and this copy is a CGC 9.4. This is definitely one of the most probably recognizable and, iconic Sports Illustrated issues. And this one went for $1,400 on eBay. So there have been 32 copies graded. Here at the 9.4 level, it's a pop 1 of 4, and there are 3 copies higher. Although I will say all 3 of those higher copies are 9.6s. There is still, surprisingly, yet to be a 9.8 of this issue that's been popped. All right, moving on, number 9, we have Kevin Durant. This is from 2018 after he won one of his championships with the Warriors. And this one is autographed. Now, it's been authenticated by Beckett. You can actually see the little Beckett sticker in the bottom left corner there on the barcode. And so, CGC, really weird about autographs, and they don't care that it's been authenticated by Beckett. They basically don't recognize that. And so that's why this is a CGC 9.0 qualified. You'll notice that it's got the green label, whereas most of them, the standard label is blue. And so CGC is basically saying, hey, there's something wrong with this. In fact, if you look real close in the heading, in the notes there on that CGC label, it says Kevin Durant written on cover in marker. So kind of frustrating that CGC doesn't even acknowledge that this is a legit autograph that's been authenticated by Beckett, one of the most reputable authenticators out there. And being a CGC 9.0 qualified, what that tells me is, if it weren't for the autograph, this issue very well could be a 9.8, because it's really common that CGC will deduct a full point for that writing being on the cover. So this issue is in really great shape. Got the CGC 9.0 qualified, and it went for $1,675 on eBay. There have only been 5 copies of this issue graded, and there are 3 higher. Number 8, we've seen this one many, many times. It's the very first issue of Sports Illustrated from 1954. You've got Braves Hall of Famer Eddie Matthews on the cover, and this is a CGC 9.6. Went for $1,995 on eBay, and this is the most frequently graded issue of all time. It's been graded a total of 566 times. There are 130 9.6s. There are 78 9.8s. Remember, you will never find a single copy of this first issue with a subscription label on the front. None of them had it. And on top of that, there were many of these sold decades later as collector's items that were in great shape. And so that explains not only the high pop count, but also why there are so many in basically pristine condition, such as this one. Number 7, Tiger Woods, first cover from 1996. This is a CGC 9.2. I love that cover. I love the big tiger headline there. I think he's got a super, super cool first cover. That doesn't always happen for everybody. And this one went for $2,000 on eBay. There have been 64 copies of this graded in newsstand. This is a pop 1 of 8 at the 9.2 level, and there are 35 copies graded higher. Number 6, another very iconic and well-known Sports Illustrated issue, and this is LeBron James' first cover while he was still in high school, and it's a CGC 9.6. It sold for $2,050 on eBay. This is also one of the most frequently graded. It's now crossed over the 200 threshold, having been graded a total of 201 times. And you can see at the 9.6 level, it's 1 of 40, and there are 38 copies that have been graded at a 9.8. Number 5, the Great Gretzky. This is Wayne Gretzky's first Sports Illustrated cover from 1981, and this is graded at an 8.0. Sold for $2,250 on eBay. There have been 53 newsstand copies of this graded by CGC. It's a pop 1 of 3, and there are 11 copies graded higher, one of which we may be seeing later on the countdown. Number 4, it's our first non-graded copy on this month's list. It is 1984 Michael Jordan. This is his first pro cover, A Star is Born, and it's been autographed. It's been authenticated by JSA. It is a subscription issue. You can see there on Michael's knee where the label has been removed. A little bit ugly there with that label removal. But it's really difficult to get Michael Jordan autographs on Sports Illustrated because he's got a really rocky relationship with Sports Illustrated, which kind of started, the rockiness started around, I think it was 93 or 94, whenever it was that he made that move to baseball. So he won't always sign Sports Illustrateds. And, on top of that, he's basically the greatest of all time. So that's why you're still going to have a premium for autographed Michael Jordan Sports Illustrated issues, even if it is a subscription issue with, a label removed, such as this one. So $2,550 on eBay, coming in at number 4. And at number 3, same deal. Once again, it's Michael Jordan. This one looks a lot nicer. The label has been left on. And, I think some of the label removed issues can look really nice, but it's all about how well the label is removed. And that previous one we saw, it looked really rough. It was just so obvious where that label used to be, stuck out like a sore thumb. So if you're going to remove a label, make sure you know what you're doing to at least make it look nice, because this one to me looks much better than the previous one, even though it's still got that label stuck right on there. This subscription issue used to belong to a gentleman named Larry Bolt, it looks like, from Spokane, Washington. But I also love the silver Sharpie. I think silver Sharpie looks really good on a lot of backgrounds. And this is a really cool one. One Man Gang. This is the 1986 issue of Michael Jordan. It's his 4th cover, his 2nd one with the Bulls. This autograph has been authenticated by PSA. Obviously, this is an ungraded copy, sold for $2,805 on eBay. Number 2, once again, it is Michael Jordan, and this is his very first Sports Illustrated cover from 1983. He's also featured there with his former collegiate teammate Sam Perkins, who had a good little, I believe, 14-year NBA career himself. And this one went for $6,250 on eBay. One of the most desirable issues, in the history of Sports Illustrated, with it being Michael's first appearance. And it's been graded a total of 93 times in newsstand, which to me, that just really speaks for how hard these newsstand copies are to find. Because when you've got someone like Michael Jordan, who is pretty much the most coveted athlete as far as collectibles. You could maybe argue a couple others like Mickey Mantle, but this issue's from 1983. Not super vintage. It's now coming up on 40 years old, but still, there's only been 93 copies of this graded in a newsstand, and CGC's been grading Sports Illustrateds for 15 years. So I think that's very interesting. The 7.5, it's a pop 1 of 9, and there are only 22 copies graded higher. And coming in at number 1, the highest selling Sports Illustrated, or the highest selling sports magazine from January of 2023. And once again, we have Wayne Gretzky's first cover, and this is a CGC 9.4. It sold for $9,999 on eBay. All right, now some of you are going to be thinking, whoa, we've got a little bit to talk about on this one, okay? Many of you are aware the highest selling sports magazine of all time, graded by CGC, was a Wayne Gretzky first cover CGC 9.4, basically the exact same as this one. It was not the same copy, it was a different copy, but it was essentially the same issue, graded at the same level. That sold for $30,000, pretty much exactly 1 year ago, if I'm not mistaken. It was February of last year. So what gives? That one sold for $30,000. Now we've got one selling for $10,000. That is a major drop. I think that there are a couple explanations. I think number one, the economy and just the state of the market of collectibles, I think that's a factor. We've already seen some prices start to dip back down from kind of that peak that we saw a little bit, maybe mid to late of last year. So I think that's part of it. Here's what I think is a bigger part in this particular instance. There are just not that many high money buyers out there yet in the sports magazine hobby. There's quite a few in the sports card market. All right, you can go through and look at all the previous sports card sales, and you'll see on a regular basis sports cards selling for 5, even 6 figures, even a few in the 7-figure range, because sports cards have just been more popular for a lot longer. There are a lot more available. There are a lot more collectors out there. There's a lot more awareness of them. And so you have more high-end buyers. The sports magazine hobby is still pretty niche. It's been growing. There's no doubt about it. But when you compare it to sports cards or even to comics, I mean, it absolutely dwarfs in comparison. So you just don't have a lot of people that are out there on the market right now who are, looking to throw $30,000 out at a Sports Illustrated magazine. Whether or not that people are out there that think it may be worth that, or think that the future of the sports magazine hobby may eventually continue to grow and get to that level, that doesn't really matter if you don't have the buyers out there with that type of dispensable cash. And to me, that's the biggest factor right now. I think there are a lot more people getting in this hobby and they're interested, but they're not at the level where they can throw 30 or even 20 or even 10,000 at a sports magazine. They're looking more for some of those bargains to pick up under $1,000. And to be honest, that's where I would fall in. I wouldn't even be able to snag this Wayne Gretzky for 10,000, even if I saw it and thought it was a phenomenal deal, which I do. I do, because like I said, the last one went for 30 grand, and this is a GOAT of his sport. This is one of the highest graded copies out there. You can see it's a pop 1 of 3. There's only one copy higher, but I don't just have $10,000 to be thrown around to pick this up. There's just not enough of those high-end buyers out there right now. That's my theory. Would love to hear what you think in the comments as far as the explanation goes. But regardless, this comes in at number 1, basically selling for $10,000. All right, let's go through some honorable mentions. There are some other really cool and unique magazines that did not quite crack the top 10, but I think are worth looking at. So first up, we have Michael Jordan. This is a really interesting one. Never seen this before. It's from 2011, a celebrity golf event that he took part of at the Shadow Creek Golf Course, hosted by Area Resort. And it is autographed right there on the cover by Michael Jordan, authenticated by JSA. Obviously, this one has not been graded. And yeah, this is pretty cool. I love to see the unique ones like this that you just don't ever really see. And this one went for $1,100 on eBay. Next up, I have seen this one out there a few times, and I think it's super cool. This is a 2015 Back to the Future #1 from IDW Publishing, and it's the Gray's Sports Almanac. And this one's graded a CGC 9.8. So, if you've seen Back to the Future, great movies, you will recall that Michael J. Fox and his character had that sports almanac from when he traveled in time, and he was basically able to correctly bet and predict every single sports outcome. And so this was published in 2015, but it's obviously kind of a recreation of that almanac from the Back to the Future movies, which I think is super cool. And the fact that this one is in mint condition, CGC 9.8, sold for $1,099 on eBay. Next up, we have another ungraded, and this one's also a subscription, like a few that we've seen. This is 1980 USA Hockey. This has been autographed by 16 individuals, 16 members of this U.S. hockey team, including Coach Herb Brooks. He's one of the signatures. He's probably the key signature on this cover. And yeah, this is pretty cool. I actually think that if this had been sold on maybe like a Heritage or somewhere with a little more visibility, I think this could have potentially sold for a lot more, because this is a pretty neat collectible for one of the most iconic moments in U.S. sports history. Actually, I think Sports Illustrated, if I remember correctly, in 1999, I'm pretty sure that they named this as like the top sports moment of the whole century, as far as American sports go. So this is really cool. 16 autographs, authenticated, and it sold for $1,090.99 on eBay. All right, here's another really unique one. Like I said, I love these random magazines or programs that you don't ever really see. This is the Boston Garden banner years from 1928 to 1995. It's basically like a recap of all of the memories and events that happened in the Boston Garden. And so it's from 1995. It has 11 autographs on the cover, mostly from Celtics Hall of Famers. I didn't put all the names on here, but the key ones are Larry Bird, Bob Cousy, John Havlicek, Bill Walton, and Tiny Nate Archibald. All have their autographs here on the cover of this program. And when I first saw this picture, I thought it was like a book, but actually, when I looked at the other photos and when I looked at the description of the item, this is actually a program, kind of like a magazine style. So very cool item here, sold for $1,000 on eBay. Next up, one of the most iconic and desirable issues out there. This is Larry Bird. This is his first Sports Illustrated cover. This is ungraded. This is unsigned, but it sold for $910 on eBay. It does appear to be a newsstand. Always difficult to 100% tell from just the photos until you really get that issue in your hand. And even then, still got to send it to CGC and it's got to pass through their test too. But it appeared to be a newsstand, and yeah, someone really, or at least a couple people were really bidding high on this. This was an auction and sold for $910 on eBay. Really cool one here, another autographed issue. This is from 1984. It is Sweetness, Walter Payton, and love that signature right there with the black Sharpie on the white headband. That is very cool. This is one for the books. This is when Walter Payton broke the all-time rushing record, which was held by Jim Brown at the time. And of course, since then, it's been broken by Emmitt Smith. But really cool issue here. It looks to me like a newsstand. I couldn't tell. I looked at the pictures as close as I could. The description just listed it as no label, so that doesn't really definitively tell you. But it did appear to me like it's got a good shot at being a newsstand. And regardless, it's a very pretty cover. And that Walter Payton autograph is absolutely awesome. Sold for $900 on eBay. Once again, we've got the 2002 LeBron James first cover here. This is a CGC 9.4, sold for just south of $900. All right, and here is a cautionary tale. This is 1956 Mickey Mantle. This is his first Sports Illustrated cover. Probably what I would put at number one as far as the most desirable Sports Illustrated issue of all time. This was sold along with there was a seller who basically put a bunch of really high item, high ticket Sports Illustrated covers out on eBay for auctions all at the same time. Many of them appeared to be newsstand, and some of them turned out to be legitimately newsstand, but a lot of them also were label removed, and it was really hard to tell from the picture. I am about 95% sure that this one is a subscription issue. It's hard to tell from the photo on this screen, but whenever I was able to kind of do some zooming in on the eBay photos, you can pretty clearly tell that there's a strip of glue residue on Mickey's neck where the label had once been and where the label was removed. And so this went for $886, obviously speculating, and hoping that this would be a newsstand, but I am pretty sure it is a subscription. So this is just a cautionary tale. Always, always, always be extra careful when you are buying raw ungraded issues on eBay or on anywhere else. Thoroughly read the description, message the seller, make sure you're aware of what the refund policy is, because in some cases you may be able to buy it, and if it comes back and you receive it and it's not a newsstand, you may be able to send it back and get your money back. So just a lot of factors come into play, and make sure you're aware of all those, because this is a pretty high sale for what appears to be a subscription issue. All right, and last up on our honorable mentions this month, we have 1953 dummy issue number 1. So this is Sports Illustrated. I know I've talked about this on at least one of my videos before, but Sports Illustrated, before they released their first issue in 1954, they sent out 2 dummy issues beforehand, basically kind of testing the market, trying to get feedback from potential consumers and potential advertisers to get a feel for if they were on the right track, and what those customers and what those advertisers wanted. So this was the very, very first one that they put out, once again in 1953. So it was the year before that Eddie Matthews issue even came out. And it's kind of a unique cover. Doesn't even really show a sporting image, just kind of a crowd there. And it says the New Sport Magazine dummy #1 on the cover. Doesn't even say Sports Illustrated anywhere, but this was Sports Illustrated. So this is a CGC 8.5. There have not been a lot of copies of these graded. I want to say less than 15, maybe even less than 10. So this is a pretty cool one, and it went for $840 on Goldin Auctions. All right, that's it. Thank you for watching. I appreciate likes, comments, subscribes. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the Gretzky. Let me know what you think about the Mantle, and maybe the state of the hobby. Love to have some discussion with you. I got some countdown lists coming up. The 1990s top 40 issues will be coming out in upcoming weeks. So stay tuned, and appreciate you watching. Till next time.